My country 'tis, of the land of supremacy, of thee we sing. Land of such genocide, land of white nationalist pride, we've such high mountains to climb to let freedom ring. Good morning, friends. It's Petra here at Fruition Seeds, and I look so forward to sharing live Q&A with you this morning. And I'm so grateful to share that little rendition of Our Country 'Tis, of thee, that Matthew and I just rewrote last night on our skis. And I'd love to share that as much as I am so heartbroken for this country, I also love this country, and I'm a little obsessed with this phrase right now. Love what we critique and critique what we love. Myself, first and foremost, at the top of the list. Love myself and critique myself, and love myself more and critique all the more. And so yes, I share this song as a loving critique of our nation, and also with a humble gratitude for all of the people and all of the plants, animals, fungi that have brought us to this moment where we can gather together, where we can grieve, where we can question, where we can grow together. So I am just so thankful for you being part of this journey, and knowing that every seed we sow is not just those little tiny seeds that come in our beautiful packets, but it's everything that we think. It's everything that we eat and drink. And Margie says, good morning and Happy New Year, Petra. Good morning, Margie. So glad you are here with us. And friends, this is live Q&A, so we can talk about white body supremacy. We can talk about nematodes. Let's talk about compost. Let's talk about anything you'd love to talk about. So jump right in and don't be shy. And I'd love to share with you right off the top, if you don't already know, oh my gosh, we made this lovely little planting calendar, and we send one off in the mail with every order that is placed at fruitionseeds.com. But you can also just find it on our website, on our blog, downloadable, totally free. And we have lots of free online courses as well. Seed starting, how to grow your own microgreens, growing awesome garlic. So we have lots of great video tutorials, step by step, to set you up for success. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making, and I see some people starting to start seeds already, and I'm like, wait a minute, unless you live in the Dominican Republic, you're jumping the gun a little bit. So especially here in Zone 5, it's so beautifully chilly. We are actually, so this planting calendar is ideal for zones 4 through 6. So certainly if you live in San Diego or Tallahassee, you want a different planting calendar for sure. But as a general rule, here's the thing, and who needs rules? But here's a real golden one. Younger, unstressed transplants, seedlings, are going to surround you with that much more abundance, that much more health and happiness, that much more, prolific beauty than older, more stressed transplants. So think of it, honestly, we can kind of mirror this in our lives as well. The younger we are, the more robust our immune systems, the healthier and happier we can be. And with age and with stress, our immune systems break down and we're more susceptible to everything around us. So yes, anytime you can not start seeds, if you feel like you're behind the curve, you're probably right on time. So yes, this is live Q&A, and don't be shy, friends. Jump right in. And a number of people have been asking us about kind of our progression, and here's the general gist of what we're about to sow. So we start our ginger, which our ginger will be available in early mid-March. It's going to be awesome. Stay tuned. So yes, once our ginger is the first thing that we start, always on heat mats. And then the next thing that we start are onions and leeks. And that's generally late March. And then in early April is when we start all of our seeds that are started about 8 weeks before final frost. So that's our tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, but also our perennial herbs and flowers like rudbeckia, lavender. And oh my goodness, Colby says, I love this. I'm new to Zone B. Welcome to Zone B. And I'm still figuring it out. I'll definitely be downloading one. Yeah, don't be shy and jump right into our free Seed Starting Academy as well, because that'll lay out, one of the things that is handy about some of our other materials, like this will give you a sense. You just count the weeks and then it'll translate into any time, any zone. So like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, you start them 8 weeks before final frost. And so just count back. You'll need to do some homework about where approximately final frost is for you, and know that it's less of an exact date than a general time frame. Like for us here in Zone 5, specifically right here in the Finger Lakes at Fruition Seeds, it can be anywhere from like second week in May till the first week in June. It's kind of this 3-week serious window, and even just because it's really, really warm at the end of April doesn't mean that it's not going to then get really cold again and in later May. So I have a whole blog about frost and frost dates and things to look for as well. And I'm also looking at, for the last decade that I've been living back here in my hometown of Naples, we've been taking our beautiful perpetual calendar. Hopefully you've seen it. She's gorgeous. I wish I had brought her down to play with. But I'm actually recording things like when certain birds return, when the skunk cabbage is emerging and like in its full craziness. And so I'm recording all of these things, like when the honeysuckle is blooming, so that I can maybe see like if there are patterns in the world around me that are indicating that it's probably not going to frost again. So and it's by no means an empirical study, so I am no attachment. But in my experience, if the eastern wood peewee is back and the multiflora rose is blooming, it's not going to frost again. We'll see if that holds true this year as well. So definitely keep in touch, and I'm so excited for you. And Colby asks, are you planting outside or in greenhouses? We do both. So we have a 20-acre farm, and we have 3 high tunnels as well as a greenhouse that we start seeds in. So peas, beans, carrots, there are lots of plants seeds that you just direct sow. You would never transplant them, and those we sow right in the ground. There are others like tomatoes, you'd never direct sow them. So we transplant those, we start them inside in our greenhouse. And there are some like lettuce, kale, basil, zinnias that you can do either. And so that is an equation, and definitely jump into our Seed Starting Academy where I break this down in full, because whether or not you start them inside, like advantages aren't always advantages, disadvantages aren't always disadvantages. If you don't have a great seed starting setup, you definitely want to be direct sowing them. And if you don't want to be weeding, then you definitely want to be transplanting them. So there's lots of things to consider. And our packets are very beautiful, yes, I agree, but also very handy. And on the back, you'll find all kinds of lovely info. There's this whole little quick reference tab on the side, and it'll say direct sow or transplant, and a bunch of other great info as well, including weeks to start them, if they want to be started before frost or planted before frost, how many weeks before frost. So Lots of great, it's a baby encyclopedia, really. And Margie says, I will soon be doing my seed inventory and figuring out what I need to buy. My seeds are well cared for in the fridge in an airtight container, amazing, but I'm never sure how old is too old to bother trying to sow them. Yes, I'm actually excited. I'm writing a blog right now all about this, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So honestly, there are general rules that you'll see on the internet that I can only vaguely not really recommend, because there are general rules like onions, leeks, seeds in that allium family. They have a very weak, fragile seed coat and they quickly oxidize. Parsnips are the same way. So basically you want to be sowing those crops every single, like buying new seeds of onions, parsnips, leeks, scallions every single year. The vast majority of seeds, though, will last 4 to 5 years easily in a great storage condition like you have for them, Margie. So no need to go overboard and get them fresh every year. That being said, the quality of the seed to begin with and the age of the seed to begin with, because fast facts, just because it's packed for 2021 doesn't mean that it was grown in 2020. And that isn't always a bad thing. Like, seeds can last years. Honestly, we have some poppy seeds that we're just growing them ourselves. We're not selling them, but like they're 9 years old and still germinating at 88%. So what? Like, amazing. Seeds are in it for the long haul. Perhaps you've heard about the seeds in the Siberian permafrost, that one seed that germinated. I mean, and it's carbon dating, so it's not exact, but like 40,000 years later. And granted, it was in the permafrost. So if you have a glacier or a freezer, you can store seeds for a long time. And that's why Svalbard, that seed bank in Norway is like built into the side of, a mountain in the permafrost. So yes, most seeds will last plenty of years. I'm writing a blog right now about how you can do your own germination testing at home and keep it really simple. So then you can just sow with confidence, knowing approximately what germination it is. In lieu of that, you can also just sow heavier. But as a general rule, 3 to 5 years is a really solid baseline for how long, if it's high quality seed to begin with. And I would look at high quality seed as like, how big is the seed house? And there's like so many variables, right? But the bigger the seed house, the seed company, they're not growing their own seeds. They're mostly buying them in from the mass commodity market. And that mass commodity market, you'll be amazed how many seeds are actually grown in China. I mean, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but in many cases, it's not the best, especially if it's not organic seed. So yeah, seed companies do not grow their own seeds, the vast majority of them. Fruition is an exception. We're breeding new varieties, we're growing our own seeds, we're distributing them as well. Generally, that breeding, seed production, seed distribution are fully siloed and different universes, and there are separate companies for each of those. And the front-facing like grocery stores of like seed companies that are actually going to sell you a packet of seed, they're just distributors. So they're buying in, commodity seed from the mass market. There's a number I'm about to post, all my favorite small-scale seed companies that are actually growing seed and sharing regionally adapted seed. It's kind of like going into a grocery store, like going into, even like Walmart and being like, wow, where's your farm, Walmart? Like, you'd never say that. And so you'd never walk up to Burpees or Baker Creek and be like, oh, good, your farm must be right out back. No, it's just not sexy to have that conversation, which is why as seed companies, where 150 years ago, which is only about as far as the seed industry itself goes back, it's a very new industry. Yeah, it wasn't originally 150 years ago. Those seed companies were doing a lot of their own seed production themselves, because it wasn't as easy to move things around. But now that we can move anything anywhere, I'm basically like overnight. It just wasn't sexy. It wasn't sexy in terms of marketing and public relations to say, hey, we're the middlemen now. So they kind of didn't mention that. So now people are surprised that like most seed companies don't grow their own seeds, but now you know. And oh my gosh, love this idea of close observation. Yes, this is one of the most, I mean, like, when people are like, what would your superpower be? I'd be like, to be human with our incredible powers of attention and observation that we largely neglect. Let's just dig into our superpower. When do I start ground cherries? I bought them from you. Well, thanks for sowing our seeds. Thanks for being why we do what we do. And Jamie, we start our ground cherry seeds at the same time as our tomatoes, peppers, eggplants. And you'll see on the back of the packet, there'll be some directions on there to start 6 to 8 weeks before final frost. So go ahead and start them. For us in zone 5, 8 weeks before final frost is early April. So we start them in early April. We also have a dreamy seed starting setup. If you don't have a dreamy seed starting setup, i.e. if you don't have a like expensive grow light, I highly recommend, if you're growing plants, seedlings that are more than 4 weeks old, to start them on the younger side. So a 6-week-old ground cherry transplant for you, if you don't have a great grow light, is going to be much more healthy, happy, robust, abundant compared to an 8-week-old seedling that's stressed for light. So again, check out our free Seed Starting Academy. There are dozens and dozens of step-by-step video tutorials, including a very specific one on ground cherry. So dive right in, and I'm so glad to share all of this info with you. Don't be shy. And Marla's here. Hello, Marla. I'm looking forward to taking the Seed Starting Academy this year. I live in a small apartment, so it will be interesting to see what I start inside. Yes, I'm with you every step of the way. Enjoy the academy, but like write to us anytime. And yeah, we'd love to set you up for success, because it's so satisfying to start your own seeds, and it's so easy to start them so poorly. and it's, if you haven't started a ton of seeds before, they look green and they're alive and you made them. So you don't have this like reference point of, oh, they're actually not healthy. They're not looking great. So then you plant them, and you know, there was a wonderful person that reached out last year. It was the first week of September, and she was like, hooray, our ground cherries are finally fruiting. And I was like, oh gosh, we were eating them by the handful on the 4th of July. And she was a few hills over, and she started them from seed herself and was really proud of it. So we dialed in her seed starting for this year, and I'm super excited. So, which is all to say, don't be shy, and we're totally here for you. And you might be able to start some amazing seedlings in your apartment without an amazing grow light. You probably won't be growing that many, and that's okay. The great news is not the vast majority, but a good portion of seeds you can very confidently grow right in the ground, direct sow, and you'll be set. So even if you are honest with yourself, which is so hard for me, if you don't have a great seed starting setup, don't dismay. There will be so many seeds that you can direct sow perfectly fine, and then you get to support awesome local farms that are selling beautiful local organic transplants in your area, which is going to be awesome too. And Susanna says, I love that you grow your own. Yes. Oh my gosh. When people ask if we have children, we say yes, and great grandchildren. And they grow us way more than we grow them. Thanks for knowing and caring. And Donna says, hi Petra, this is my 4th year with my garden. Amazing. It didn't do too well this year though. I don't think I replenished the soil enough. You are right. Very few of us do. So many choices: fertilizer, manure, fish emulsion, worm castings, what to use. Here's my thought. diversity is the foundation of resilience. So you can think about diversity in 1,000 ways. And don't just think of like biodiversity or genetic diversity, like, oh man, everything bagel style. Like, put compost on. We have gorgeous compost from our dear friend John Hunt on our website now. I'm so honored to share it with you. And worm castings are brilliant. They're like living. Think of worm castings as the most probiotic phenomena that with compost. Like, it's a living thing. Not only minerals, but like the bacteria and mycelium. And it's like a living thing that you're adding to your soil to just like help your soil be that much more alive. Manure, make sure that it's well composted, and that can be a real thing. Also, like, I'm a little hesitant on the manure front, honestly, and because especially with horse manure, ivermectin, which is a very chemical dewormer of like the insides of horses, means that that ivermectin passes right through them, and it actually kills worms on the other end as well. So horse manure, I don't recommend. But we have other fertilizers on our website. You'll find this long-term, slow-release, full of humates fertilizer that is really excellent. And we put literally by the ton on our farm as well. So lots of different options. Also, deciduous leaves are some of the most amazing life sources that we have at our fingertips. I mean, we have some of the richest, deepest, most quickly developing soils on the planet here in the Northeast as a direct result of, well, the rain and the warm temperatures, and also the fact that deciduous leaves fall from the trees every fall. And those leaves are just incredible nutrients. So yes, a few ideas for you, Donna. And yeah, it's often the first couple years of having a fresh new garden. Like, there's just a lot of nutrients there that if you're not replacing them actively every time you're working with the soil and planting a plant, then, oh, look, Pancho has joined us. Yes. Hi, Pancho. So I'm so glad you asked. And yeah, give before you receive, and give 10 times more. Oh, and Davi would love to come up as well. But thank you for asking, Donna. I'm so glad. And Lee Brown says, good morning. And good morning, Lee. Sending love to South Carolina. And Jamie says, awesome. Thank you. Oh my gosh. And Jonathan Hunt, happy. Oh, okay, Debbie, come on up. Debbie, come on up. And a special appearance from Davi, the Wonder Dog. Okay. And Nellie Arnold Dixon, Mark should be watching these live Q&As. Good morning, Petra. That's so fun. And Lee says, when is the seed starting class? Oh my gosh, when isn't it? You can start at any time. So you'll go on our website, fruitionseeds.com, and you'll see under online courses, there are all of these different online courses, and you just sign up for them, and it starts right then. And so literally you can start it right now, or 2 minutes from now, or 2 weeks from now, or 2 years from now. So you'll see with the seed starting class, there is a number of emails that I'll send you. There's like 10 emails. So for the next 10 weeks, you'll get like, oh, and here's this fun thing and this fun thing. We'll kind of go from timing, and then we'll dial in containers and soil, the deep dive every week. But you have lifetime access to the entire course from the moment you begin. So if you want to just binge watch the whole thing, you totally can. And then every time you want to revisit, it's right there as well. So thanks for asking, Lee, and thanks for enjoying it. And Chuck says, hi, Petra. This is the time of year I annually start sprouting sweet potato to get slips. I do well with this process, but don't harvest until October, a very long cycle. Is there anything I can add to the soil to shorten that cycle? Well, I think if you add more nutrients, you will get more sweet potatoes. But honestly, those sweet potatoes are just going to keep growing and growing and surrounding you with more abundance until frost. So when you have more nutrients in the soil, they're going to be storing more of those nutrients, right, in their marvelous little delicious starchy sweet tubers. So the more nutrients you have, the more sweet potatoes you'll have more quickly, both in quantity and quality. But it's not like you'll get more earlier, but you'll always get more waiting the full season, because they're not stopping. They're just going to keep investing all of those delicious nutrients you're giving them into those delicious tubers. So there's a few thoughts for you, Chuck, and I'm so glad. Sending love to you and your sweet potato slips too. And Lynn, good morning. Oh, so lovely. And Jamie says, second year growing in New York, definitely a different growing planting zone. I know. We're not in Kansas anymore. We are from Oregon. Oh my gosh, we're in Oregon. I spent 4 years in Oregon. I love Oregon. We built raised beds last year and loved our garden growth. Should I be adding anything to the soil this winter or early spring before planting? We do have chickens. I have not added any chicken droppings to the garden though. Good call. Chicken manure, as I'm sure you know, is super hot, i.e. it has really volatile nitrogen that can actually burn plants. So things that you can add, oh man, let me count the ways. You can add deciduous leaves, especially if they're sent through a chipper shredder. You can add compost. We have granular fertilizer that's all organic that will build your soil as well as feed your crops. And we have compost on our website, as well as those long-term, slow-release, humate-rich soil building fertilizers. Worm castings are other great choices. And yeah, so those are just a few ideas. And yeah, I'm so glad you're thinking, what can I do to give back to my soil? So often, kind of as Americans, and honestly, as kind of our white body supremacy culture, like we just expect to receive, and we have really limited ideas about how we can give. And we want to like receive before we say thank you often. So when it comes to our gardens, it's so important that we be nourishing the foundation of our plant health, which is the foundation of our plant abundance. And so, yeah, doing everything that we can to feed our soil is so critical. So we are asking all the right questions. And don't be shy. Welcome to New York. I can't wait post-pandemic days to share our farm with you. Don't be shy. And Susanna says, leaves. I can't believe that all my neighbors have their leaves carted away. I know. It's so ironic / like, this is America. So much of we do and what we don't do is like the exact opposite of what makes the most sense for our species longevity and our farm. But I'm so glad that you know, and that's awesome. And Donna says, thank you, Donna. And Tara says, hi there. Any suggestions on teaching a 2-year-old from seed to seed? Something we can plant right now, maybe a vegetable that she can eat in Long Island. Thanks. Oh my gosh. Well, so Long Island, I think you're maybe zone 6, or I think you might even, gosh, you're certainly zone 5. I think our friend Scott Chaskey, way out by Shelter Island, I think he's zone 6. Oh my gosh. So, which is all to say, you are maybe even, well, you're warmer than us. So I would go ahead, and when it's not snowing and the ground isn't frozen solid, you can plant something like a radish. And so radishes are nice big seeds, so little tiny fingers can hold on to them and plant them more easily. You can also plant peas, and it's a little bit early and they'll take their time germinating, but they'll probably germinate, and then you'll be able to, harvest the peas. You can eat the shoots as well as just let them grow, so you can eat the pods. And I would actually plant them together. I would plant the peas every 2 inches, and then every 6 inches plant a radish. So that way you're kind of interplanting them, best of both worlds. And I'm so excited. Let me know what you think and what you learn, and how wonderful. And Lee says, I'm going to tear out my flower garden. Yes, add soil, put up 2 portable green houses and expand my veggie garden. Amazing. I live in a duplex and don't have much room. Amazing. And just a quick little reminder, just because you're adding vegetables doesn't mean you're growing less flowers. I think eggplant flowers are one of the most beautiful flowers on the planet. And Kathleen says, hi Petra. Camp Goodman, sending love. Just got back from my walk up to the orchard. So nice to see you, and Happy New Year. Sending love to you and Camp Goodman, Kathleen. I look so forward to hopefully walking there with you one day. Oh my gosh. And it draws close to the time our Q&A comes to an end, friends, but a couple more questions. Can chicken manure be added if it is aged and not hot? Yes, absolutely. I recommend that you put a little bit on in a little portion of your garden just to see, because it's tricky. I've actually burned some plants with 6-year-old chicken manure that didn't smell. And generally, like, if it smells like anything beyond just delicious loamy earth, then it's not broken down enough. But that being said, I've put on chicken manure 6 years old, beautifully turned and composted, that smelled delicious, and it still burned our plants. So I would, yes, it's amazing, super potent, powerful nutrients for your soil, but go easy and go small initially so you can see how your plants react. Thanks so much for asking. And Margie, yes, is it okay if the chicken manure is composted or put in early enough to cool off? Yeah, I think I'll just go with what I just shared. It's composted is the way to go, but always start small, because you never know how potent it still is. And Kenneth says, I had eggplant flowers, but no eggplant. That is likely a sign of too few nutrients. So if they're stressed for nutrients, they can have the energy to flower, but they don't have the full suite of nutrients they need to fruit. It could also be a function of, if it's too hot, like it's over 100 degrees, sometimes they'll flower but not fruit too. And maybe it could be something else going on as well, but generally it's a nutrient stress issue. Oh my gosh, and it's so hard to leave our Q&A. Lauren says, you are the best, Petra. I love your videos and all the ways you share your knowledge and enthusiasm. Thank you so much. And our final question, Erica, what is the best compost for a larger garden? Anything you can find. Ask for the soil sample. But honestly, I'm entirely biased. We have a beautiful compost on our website. So for a big garden, it won't make sense unless you live locally and you can just, have free shipping and pick it up on the farm. But yeah, go ahead and for a large garden too, I recommend we have our granular organic fertilizer that's on our farm that we sell on our website, fruitionseeds.com. And that has lots of humates and lots of dreamy, yummy things. Otherwise, look around of your local nurseries, see what compost they might have, and always ask for the soil sample that'll have all of the micronutrients and kind of the general, if there's NPK they can share, because not all compost is created equal, and as much as you can get it from organic sources, the better. So sending so much love to you all, and I love to end, as we begin all of our live Q&As, with a song, story, poem, quote, with something to ground us in our time together and connect us to the larger events of the world. So this morning, I would love to share with you a little song that you will recognize the melody. And Matthew and I, when we were skiing last night, kind of wrote these fresh lyrics too. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you can lean in, and if you can't, we still love you, and I hope we can stay in conversation. So here is our song. Our country 'tis of the land of supremacy, of thee we sing. Land of such genocide, land of white nationalist pride, we've such high mountains to climb to let freedom ring. And I would love to lift up that I love this country and I am proud to be American despite the utter depth and complexity and problematic nature of the fact that we are such a colonized nation on stolen land. All of our national wealth is a concentration of extracted, exploited labor and genocide from this shit that we must compost. I hope that we can gather together and compost in ourselves and in as our collective so that we can be growing gardens that can truly grow us and building soil so that future generations of all species can grow with the health and the resilience that is our birthright as living beings on this planet. I am so grateful for all of our foremothers and forefathers who have fought so much and so many lives lost so that we might have our lives and that we might gather together as we are today. And so we might grow our gardens and let them grow us. And we can ask questions and we can love even as we grieve and try to find hope when hope is hard to find. So thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I feel so not alone, and I am so grateful to accompany you and hope that you don't feel alone in those moments when it's hardest to love our country and love ourselves. And how can we keep showing up and doing the work? I'm here for you, friends, here to compost myself. And friends, with that, I'm off. See you next Saturday. I'm here every Saturday on Facebook between like 9:45 and 10:15, 10:30. And I love learning from you as much as you love learning from me. We are all here learning together. Take care.